Greetings! Now that we're done with that goofy trailer intro, welcome to the devlog for update 49 of Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades. It's a little late for a sound check, but let's do one anyway. Come on. There we go. Wonderful. So, what have we got for you this week? Well, we have got a huge update to the Meatmas Snow Globe scene, as you just saw explained in the goofy trailer. I've just reset it here, and I thought I would go over a couple other things about the scene that, just in terms of like system nuance, how to do things. So, we have a modified version of the bot spawner that is in this scene that spawns pepperonis, which are armed with various sorts of holiday ray guns, and as well as just some subtle differences in their behavior and pathing. You'll notice there's no item spawner, and the reason for that is that, aside from our sort of starting 1911 and a couple melee weapons lying around, you have to buy your guns to temporarily use in this scene. Bit of a sort of proc-gen experiment. There are two options here, a small gun case and a large gun case, which each cost sauce. You should, if you freshly installed the game, you should be starting with something like 1,500 or 2,000 of it. If you have absolutely zero for some reason, because I did have a saving bug for a little while, you can either take the 1911 into battle at first to save up a little bit of it. Don't worry, you can earn it back pretty quickly if you spend some time fighting in the scene, or you can jump over to the meat scene and earn some there, or Worst World, which is now finally fixed. I found the bug that was preventing that from saving the sauce you were supposed to be earning. So let's spawn a case here. Let's actually do a small and a large. Pick this up. Undo the latches. Let's open. Ooh, what have we got here? Looks like we've got a PX4, I believe. I don't need that case. And when we're done, just so we can clean up here, we can just shut this and drop that in there. I'll delete it. Just, objects do tend to fall through the cases when you're moving around. There's not much one can do about it, because the way physics engines work. Then open this. Ooh, a Model 8. Not exactly a high-capacity weapon, but definitely one that I like. Oops. Come over here and throw this one away too. Beautiful. So we've got some guns to fight with. And then next up, actually one more thing over here. The third thing, which you saw in the trailer, is that we can spawn a loot crate. And this is one of the ways that you can get some of the various currency that exists in this mode. Let's go ahead and spawn one of those. Grab our crowbar here. I just love smashing crates. Beautiful. And the way currency works is that to collect it, this is a greasy glob. You just eat it. This is a buttery band. This is some disgusting dough. Then once we've eaten that, you will notice that, one, it shows up in our recipe book here, which will basically get revealed as you find and pick up various resources or craft them. And it's in one of our storage devices. So if I need this disgusting dough to make something, I just have to click to dispense it. And if I find I don't need it, I can just eat it, which will recollect it. Beautiful. So, let's spawn ourselves some bots to fight. Let's see, human, random. Let's give them all like, we'll just do random, medium, 10. Turn that on. You'll notice it's a larger scene than pretty much anything else that has a bot spawner. So actually having scoped weapons, unlike this old Model 8, is quite handy. Let's fire it into the air to attract some attention. Oh, we got a friend coming. Ooh. Helps to not shoot the wall. Ooh! Let's see if he dropped anything. That's taking fire. Oh, that one dropped some sauce. Get any other drops there? Looks like just sauce. So basically, the bots that you're fighting are going to primarily drop sauce and health, and every now and again, they'll drop some rare resources. Oh. Cool. Let's go ahead and come back up here. Work out. Turn off auto spawn. Clear all our bots. Just throw these in here. So I purchased a couple crates just so that I can show you the grinder now. Let's use our sledgehammer here. Delightful. Bobs. Buttery bands. Ooh, look at that. Every now and again, rarely, in a loot crate, you'll get one of the level 2 currencies. This is a fruity farthing. Got a pickled pearl, an oily orb, a sizzling shard, and another buttery band. Let's see if... Oh, yep. So we have a complete recipe we can work with over here, which is the first one. It's a greasy glob plus a sizzling shard. Makes a fruity farthing. So let's dispense one of those. Come over here. Grab one of these here. Come on over to our grinder. Toss these up into here. Beautiful. And turn our crank. Beautiful. Fruity farthing. So we can once again just collect this to use for later, as there are recipes to create the premium currencies made out of these 6 different coins. So that is how that whole system works. The grinder obviously can combine things based on recipes. It will sort of automatically just pick the best recipe based on what's inside it. Obviously, you can throw other things in the grinder, and other things might happen. If you do so, there are also some other alternate ways in this scene to get some of those currencies, but I will leave those to you to figure out. Well, that's about it. I should probably stop rambling, as I still have to render this out of Premiere and then get tonight's update pushed. I hope you have fun with it. Oh, and one last thing, really importantly, with all of the IPA stuff, don't worry if you don't have a VR headset yet. You're getting it for Christmas or what have you. You're not missing anything. These items, as I joked about and mentioned in the trailer, will be available for everyone on Meet in this Day. This is just a fun way of unlocking and being able to play with them just in this scene. So I hope you all enjoy it, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend with it. Talk to you soon. Peace. Greetings! Welcome to the devlog for hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. We're going to start off, as always, with a quick sound check. Make sure your speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, I had been hoping to have a Meat Miss update ready for you today, but it needs a little more time in the oven. Trust me, it is worth it. So I thought I would start out this week's devlog by showing you some of the, essentially a whole new class of firearm that I have gotten operational that is quite relevant to our slowly building collection of World War II era firearms. And that is the open bolt weapon. There actually already is an open bolt weapon in the game, the Mac 11, but it's very old codebase wise and not configurable like my my new system. And so I thought I would show off here to begin with an exemplar of this type of firearm and explain what makes these different from most of the other sort of fully automatic weapons that we play around with in H3 that are closed bolt. So this is the Sten Mark II. It's a British SMG from World War II, and I think an answer to the question how little gun you can have and still have something still be a gun. This is basically just a tube, a spring, a really heavy bolt, and a couple bolts, latches, and screws holding it all together. And what might be the least comfortable stock and handle ever produced on a production firearm. So let's take a look at this. So what makes these different? Well, with a closed bolt firearm, what happens is that the bolt comes back, ejecting the prior round, comes forward, chambers that round, and then the bolt sits forward right on that round, ready for you to pull the trigger and fire. With an open bolt weapon, what happens is that the bolt is held back here by the sear, and when you release the trigger, the bolt slams forward, extracting a round from the magazine, and then immediately firing it. So it goes like that. So with the Sten here, and what this basically means is that open bolt weapons tend to be more mechanically simple, which is why you find so many of them in this era's firearms. So let's pop a magazine in here. You'll notice that there's this notch back here for our bolt that we're grabbing, and that's because this is the closest thing that this gun has to a safety. Basically, we just pull it back, rotate it, and it holds back there. Otherwise, our fire selector is simply between semi and full. So let's try this on semi first. Let's pull this back, let it rest there. We can see right in there to our mag, ready to extract. Grab our front, take aim. Watch that pop out there. Going to full. Haha! Wonderful. I adore these. I actually got to fire back at Battlefield Vegas, both a Mark II and a Mark V a while back. They felt really fun. They are heavier than you expect them to be, obviously being made out of steel. There's also a bunch of things we can do with an open bolt weapon here that obviously are a little dangerous. One of which is that we can just hold the bolt back here, go ahead and pull the trigger down, and as soon as we release the bolt, this sucker's just gonna run. Like so. This is, you've probably heard that one of the things about open bolt weapons is that they are a little dangerous, or many of the older ones, in that especially if this is just sitting on the bolt here, and this were to be loaded, you just whack this really hard, and it would let off at least one shot. But yeah, it's just such a fun form factor. To go with our Mark II here, we also have the Mark V, also known as the Brits had enough money to put a handle on it version. That I believe were more common just after World War II, or towards the tail end of it. It's got this foregrip here. We've got some wood furniture, but otherwise it's pretty much operationally identical. I think I have a stiffer return spring in this one, so its fire rate is a little faster. One of the things that I've been experimenting around with this class of weapon relative to the others, especially because they tend to feature these really meaty springs, is that a more involved spring simulation is actually present here for the bolts. In many ways, just a coding fascination of mine. I continue to iterate towards trying to find the best way to represent a system like this from a simulation standpoint. So, and we've got the Sten Mark VI, which has a integral suppressor here, and this like cool piece of I don't know if this is supposed to be leather or canvas, but to hold on to it, lacking the foregrip. The Brits really were the ones who were most interested in suppressed weapons during World War II. You can really hear the bolt mechanic noise too when we've got a much more dampened firing noise. There we go. It's one of the things I love about these is you really do get a distinct sound between the bolt catching on the sear after a shot or a burst of shots, or the bolt actually returning all the way forward. Just makes for a more interesting and varied sonic experience. Beautiful. So that is our first set of open bolt firearms. The other thing I wanted to show you while we are here in VR is actually something I've been meaning to fix for a little while now with two of our bullpup weapons, which is their fire selectors. So both the FAMAS and the L85 had an inaccuracy that had been bothering me for a while that I finally went about fixing. Let's go ahead and load this to demonstrate. Which is that we have a fire selector that is accessible by the main hand on the FAMAS here, that takes us between safe, isn't firing, semi, and a 3-round burst. However, in real life, the FAMAS is also capable of firing unrestricted full auto, not just burst, but that isn't a feature that's accessible here. It's similar to the Vector 45, if you play around with it, in that there is another selector switch, in the case of the FAMAS back here, which changes that 3-round burst to full auto. So that's how you do that now. Is once again, it's just changing the 3-round burst to full auto. Cycling between that safe and semi is still done with left on the touchpad. And then lastly, we have a similar sort of change to the L85 here. Let's go ahead and put this up. With the L85, we just have a cross bolt safety up front, meaning that the left on the touchpad is just going to take us between safe and semi. And if we want to go between semi and full auto, we have to come back here and click that selector switch. Back there. Wonderful. So just so you know, little control update. I figured I would show you that, and those will function like that in the next update. So let's go ahead and jump out of VR now and talk about something super special we are doing this month.
Yo! So we're out of VR, which means it's time to announce that special thing I mentioned. And that thing happens to be that we are doing another Meat Miss contest this year. That's right, it's the H3 VR Make a Meat Miss Ornament contest. So what do you have to do? Well, you have to roll up your sleeves, step away from your computer for once, and make, however you see fit, a hangable Meat Miss tree ornament. You can you can make it completely by hand. You can digitally sculpt it and 3D print it and finish it in some way. Kit bash it. Use parts of model kits, random junk from your garage, far too much glitter, macaroni pasta, welded things, or anything else you can think about. The only constraints are that it has to be physical, it has to be hangable. And yeah, that's about it. Which does mean that you can't just, duct tape a rifle to a cow out back and be like, that's the ornament. It's got to be able to be hung from something. So this the way this is going to work is that the contest runs from right now until December 24th. I'm going to have a pinned entry right up on the H3 VR subreddit. You can submit something anytime during that window. You can submit multiple things if you'd want to. They should each be as separate entries. And basically, your ornament needs to have a title, and there needs to be 2 to 3 photographs of it that should be at least 1,000 by 1,000 pixels so we can really see it. Preferably, it should be hanging from something, whether you've got like a holiday wreath, a Meat Miss tree, a Festivus pole, what have you. Try to take a nice shot if you can. And in terms of the contest structure, there's going to be 5 categories that will each win in their given category a set of prizes. And those categories are meatiest entry, I went to art school. There was an attempt, Mom's Favorite, which will be having somewhere between 2 and 5 moms doing the judging for, and Subreddit's Choice, which you folks will be voting on. Last year, the way I had done the Subreddit's Choice voting was that did the like ranked upvote style sort of post, but I didn't really like that because it sort of privileged people who got their entries in earlier just because there was more time for folks to vote on them. So this year, instead, what I'm going to do is actually put together like a survey right at the end of the contest once entries have closed, and then post it up on that post, and then voting from everyone will be open between December 25th and January 4th, with the winners in each category announced on the January 5th devlog of 2018. So you might be asking, well, okay, we got a contest. What are the prizes? Well, each winner in the 5 categories will get an H3 swag box full of all sorts of crazy little stuff, including some apparel. You'll get a game key to give to a friend. Your entry will be immortalized in perpetuity in the Meatmas Snow Globe scene, just like last year's winners. And then there'll be one final little thing that is specific to that category. We should say appropriate. I've got one of those things right here in front of me, made by one of the game's artists. It is this absolutely sweet framed Colibri Wen cross stitch, which is the closest you're ever going to get to getting this gun from me. So there. So that is the contest. I'll be putting up the post basically right at the same time as posting this devlog. I encourage you all to, especially if you've got some time off from school and such, or just vacation or what have you, and want to do a fun thing, especially if you've never like done a craft project before and just want to dive in and do something goofy and fun. I thoroughly encourage you. You don't have to have a VR system or have the game to participate. Anyone can. Just if you don't have a Reddit account, go ahead and make one, and you should be able to post a comment on the section. We don't restrict that with new accounts. So yeah, so that's gonna be what we're gonna be doing this month. I might make one along with you folks, just because it's been a while since I've done a non-digital craft project. So cool. So that is about it for this week. As I mentioned, we're going to have something the other half of of our Meatmas fun will be arriving next week, which should occupy plenty of your time on the digital side of things for the month of December, and I'm super excited about it. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.
Greetings! Welcome to the devlog for update 48 of Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades. We're going to start off, as always, with a quick sound check. Make sure your speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So we have got a ton of stuff to cover this week, so I'm going to jump right in to the new toy. To begin with, we have got, much needed after a while, a brand new version of the M4. Now, I still love the version that exists in the game. It was made by a fellow named Night Frontier. It was the first gun made by another 3D artist that I put into the game. But there have always been a number of little issues with it that made it less than ideal for such a sort of central firearm in the game system, related to its dimensions, its rail attachment flexibility, and such. And I finally found a new one that I really love. And so let's take a look at this right here. This is our new V2 M4. Its stock can come in and out. It's got a back sight that can be toggled up and down. It still has that classic M4 style front iron. We've got rails for days on this sucker. A couple other nice little details. Actually, I just realized I picked up the wrong version of it first to begin with. You're like, wait a minute, the ejector's on the wrong side. Well, you could say it is. I have a left and a right-handed version of this gun. Actually, modified by hand. The default of it came in right hand, but because of the way that the textures and materials were broken down, and because I just wanted to see how long it would take to do, I've actually made a left-handed version of it as well. It's in the item spawner. It's called the M4 left hook. So let's put the lefty version there. Let's take a look. Another Stan Eggmag version here to pop into it. We got a dust cover. Pops open. We'll pull that bolt handle back. Pull that out. Check out this new sight. Rock that over. Wonderful. So here you have it. We have our new M4, and let's go ahead and fire the left-handed version here so it doesn't feel left out. Also notice it's got this nice little latch on the charging handle there. Let's see. I'll try firing this lefty. It's so awkward. I'm sorry to everyone who's left-handed and has to deal with right-handed weapons in this game, because man, this is so hard for me. Beautiful. So that is where we're starting. Those are our new ones, other than obviously the World War II firearms I've been showing you this past week. Now let's take a look at some other sort of enhancements and changes that have come this week. This quality of sort of life upgrade. A number of folk have said to me that they don't really use the P90 much because of the fact that the mag oftentimes gets caught up here and it's hard to actually seat it down here. So I have basically made it much easier. As long as you can basically get the mag through its initial insertion point here, you can basically just jam it forward and it will now snap into place. Love watching those rounds just dump out the bottom of it. So that should hopefully be much easier for you to strip out and just jam. Man, see, I go to demonstrate it and then I mess it up. But trust me, it's at least better than it was. I'll still see if I can make it so it doesn't catch on this stupid little retaining bar quite as much. Next big one, this one should be for anyone who likes using revolvers in H3. This should come as finally kind of moment, which is that I have completely rebuilt the way that speed loaders they actually get cleaned up by the cleanup option in the wrist menu. But more importantly now, you no longer have to futz and perfectly align everything to get them in. You basically just have to touch the speed loader to the back of the cylinder and be rotationally aligned with it. So you can't do it like this. You can do it like that. Let's see how fast we can do that. Boom, So this makes revolvers much more tenable to use in the sort of faster-paced modes like take and hold, without sort of removing some of the sort of simulatory fidelity that you all enjoy. I personally still loved, to a certain degree, the lining up individual rounds with chambers and things like that. But due to the complexity that this object had to be to support that, along with the complexity of the cylinder, these two objects interacting were the single greatest source of physics crashes in H3. So it was about time this happened. I know some of you may miss the way it worked before, but it's way more stable now, and it's just way more usable for things beyond slow target shooting. So in the end, it's a value add. Boom. Awesome. What next? Yes. Fresh from Patrick. Actually, he made this a while ago, and I just never got around to implementing it because I had to build custom collision for it. We've got this absolutely freaking gorgeous drum mag to go with our AKM. that over there. It's a 75 rounder. Still got more in it, but you get the point. But yeah, so this is popped in here. It can, of course, still be, tactically reloaded, like the regular mags. Just punch that in there. Boom. Ready to go. So that's in there. That is in there. What next? And then lastly, in terms of the little quality of life changes, I have gone back. I originally didn't do this because, within the game system, we've got PX4, CX4, and M9 magazines, which will be cross-compatible in various platforms as long as they have the correct sort of but the fact of the matter is that there are points where, the simulatory fussiness like that doesn't, is for its own sake. It doesn't really add anything. So in this case, I went back and I made it so that both the M9 and our Cleric M9 machine pistol are now compatible with CX4 and PX4 magazines. So the M9 and Cleric M9 now have a 30 round mag to work with. So, and I'll be updating all of these spawn tables to spawn the Cleric one with that when relevant. Cool. So that is all of the new toys and such. Now, one other fun piece of new functionality. So, you might be like, Anton, what are you doing here? Why are you spawning these platforms? What are you going to do with these? Well, I'm going to make myself a little bit of a burn box. And you're like, oh dear, what could we be doing with that? Well, I have finally gotten around to doing something I had meant to do a long time ago, which is to make it so that fire and thermal damage, as well as just regular damage within the game system, can actually set off cartridges. It has not been done in a super realistic way, as all of the data that I gathered, both from some H3 fans early on actually dangerously doing it, and watching other videos, is that it's not actually super exciting. The bullet just sort of pops out, and it can take a while to actually heat up a cartridge. So this is very much a less realistic, more accelerated version of it. And you're like, man, you're talking a lot. It takes a second to set this up. Let's get that there. Cool. What should we do this with? I think we should do this with some 50 BMG rounds. So let's spawn ourselves an incendiary. Beautiful. So let's just do this with one of these, just so you can see this happen. I'll just put it here. Oh, there it went. It always surprises me. There's a bunch of randomness in terms of exactly when they pop in regards to the cook-off. What I'm going to do is actually put a whole bunch of these in my quick belt slot. And let's just dump a whole bunch of these into here. Get more. Let's make sure they're facing different directions. Doop. I can literally hear my GPU getting louder as I'm doing this, especially because we're recording video. All right, let's put that over there for safety. Next, just to make sure to sort of carry the sort of fire contact messages, I'm actually going to insert a few of these into the pile. So it will help. If one makes contact, they'll start igniting each other. Let's put a couple of these backwards. There we go. Beautiful. Here we go. Let's go ahead and wait, and